Hey, everybody. Music's on. That means it's time for us to chat. Welcome in. It's Three Guys Before the Game, episode number 508. Title, Thanks for Having Us, Baylor Edition. And I'm kind of hesitant to even use that. Kind of hesitant. You know why?
Why? The thanks for having us?
Yeah, because...
Well, go ahead, because I got the reason why you do, so go ahead.
Okay, I mean, I get it. I understand it. But they're the nicest people that we stop in the entire circuit.
Really?
Nicest people ever. Yeah, nicest people ever.
Interesting.
Gave us a parking pass. The only one closer to the stadium was the guy whose name's on the stadium, McLean. That was the only guy that had one closer than we did. You go in there and they're just they were fantastic.
It's good to hear.
It's they do it the old school way, the way it's supposed to be. And so I'm a little bit hesitant to say thanks for having us, but needed the W.
Also, when you win like that, maybe just like get out of town.
That's what I thought you were going to say. But here's my retort to that. I think it's the phrase is great in two parts. It's one when you roll in and you hammer somebody,
Yeah.
right? Especially a team that thinks they're going to beat you. That's really when it's the best.
Yeah.
Like when we used to go up to Pitt, right? And they thought they were the best basketball team in the world, and you beat them, and you just thanks for having us. I'll see you. Thanks for having us. But it's also when you snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, or the other team thinks they've got you, and they're celebrating, and you walk out. It's also a good. Thanks for having us, and you're out the door.
You know what I think it is? I think it's this, and you have to see me. You have to go, let's get on the bus.
Yeah,
get out of here.
We'll talk
before
about
they
this.
change their mind.
It's a weird game because it was a game that West Virginia deserved to win, but at the same time they stole it. Did both at the same time.
I would agree.
Yeah.
They deserved to win, but at the same time they stole it. Three Guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. That's a quarter of a century. By Gomart. Go for good times. Go for Gomart. Go to the website, gomart.com, and get your rewards card where you can save scads scads of money on food and fuel. Brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. 'Tis the season to take advantage of their unbelievable Three Guys offer. We'll show you that in a bit. Talk about it.
Put a big red bow on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond the numbers. The Conley CPA Group with spreads on stats coming up in just a little bit. So this is it. Our post-Baylor recap, and also we're going to get into Mountaineer basketball. Yesterday afternoon at the Coliseum, West Virginia defeats Bellarmine in a tight game. Shout out Jesse Edwards and Ofri Neve.
Yeah.
Making key plays in a game that could have gone either direction. We'll talk about that. Before we do that, well. Look at the outfits that you boys are wearing. I mean, you guys, look at that, Hopster.
New gear.
So that's the new Three Guys logo. That's a 3. Senator's got one too. That's a 3, and then the G's on top of it. And those are available on the website? Episode 800.
Should be.
Yeah.
Yep, should be. They're the Peter Millar
I was just going to say
edition. This is the high-end stuff.
Yeah, right. That's not burlap. That's that smooth.
Very soft, smooth.
Hoppy, is that smooth?
It's
got a little
nice.
stretch, a little stretch to it.
Brad gave that to me Saturday, and I put it on this morning. Like, that feels nice.
Yeah.
It's got the secondary mark, as that's called in the business. Secondary mark.
That's our secondary logo.
Sure.
Okay. All right, fellas, here we go.
Did you say it's at episode800.com?
I said that.
Oh.
Yeah, among a bunch of other items that
The
we'll get
holiday
into.
shop?
The holiday shops.
Do you have any delicious pears on that side?
We're not actually selling the pears, but we'll talk about that later as well. We are selling the Mountaineer Munch.
You said it was on at episode800.com? You said that?
What's that?
This stuff's available?
Yes.
Oh.
I said it. Episode800.com. Also,
twice.
We're getting.
You said episode800.com twice? Okay, go ahead.
Also, we have. We'll talk about this when we get into textual healing, but the popcorn that we created on this program,
Nice.
the folks at Mountaineer Popcorn in Shepherdstown, there it is right there. That's just a little bag. They sell multiple
Look at that label,
sizes.
Hop.
Oh,
You've not seen it.
So that is the chocolate.
Nice.
That's chocolate popcorn drizzle. It's chocolate popcorn drizzled with peanut butter with Reese's Pieces inside of it. It's sold out the first run.
Really?
Sold out.
Sold out. And so they're making more. But here's the deal on all this stuff. You have to order before 10 December. Order before the 10th of December to make sure that you have it in your domicile before Christmas. But Mountaineer Popcorn makes look at that. It's got a Three Guys logo on there, Hoppy. Mountaineer Munch.
The new logo.
Yeah.
That's from our friends in Shepherdstown.
Then the coffee thing.
Pairs well with the coffee. I'm having a little bit right now, as a matter of fact.
Cow.
Hop, I got a little bit right in here.
Yeah. Nice.
Coffee.
That's why you're all wired over
Coffee's running off the shelves.
Mm-hmm.
Coffee's running off the shelves. So we'll talk about that coming up in just a little bit. Meanwhile, again, have not talked to the Hopster Bobster about the football game because we've been bouncing all over the place. What was your takeaway of Saturday night in Waco?
Wow, a lot to unpack there. I'll just start with the macro, and then we'll drill down. First of all, look, you get your 8th win. Vegas had you at 4.5. You get your 8th win on the road. That is Neil Brown's best season, best coaching job, solidifies his job. You're going to a bowl game, all good. The second thing is, this is what we talked about all week when we said, look at the stats. Baylor's bad. West Virginia's better. Don't see how any way that Baylor can be in this game, unless, of course, unless they have some amazing special teams plays, unless West Virginia makes mistakes, and unless in the second half Baylor thinks they're right there, then they're saying to themselves, why not go win the game? What the heck? They're competitors.
Give them confidence.
Yeah. So that's exactly what happened. The third thing is, and you know, Brad, how many times over the last couple of years have we looked at West Virginia in a situation where West Virginia needed points, and we thought, who's going to make a play?
Yeah.
It's like, who you don't
who do you go to?
Who do you go to?
Yeah.
And how many times you did not have confidence that you had players or had the ability to make a play? And in the last minute of the game, guys making plays, and now with this team, you have confidence. You have not just hope, but confidence that a Garrett Green or a Jaheim White or C.J. Donaldson,
Hudson Clement,
Cole Taylor,
or Zach Frazier, the offensive line, that guys can make plays.
Jaquay Hubbard,
which you haven't had for a while.
Preston Fox.
Oh boy. Oof.
So those are my 3 quick takeaways. A lot more, but let me start there.
Thank you. It was very well done. You'll get an A for your book report today. Thank you.
I didn't think they were winning that game. I did not think they were winning that game. That last drive. I mean, we'll get into all the stuff that went wrong. And really, you're right. And I know you'll dig down into what you said in the open, so I won't steal that. I know where you're going. You're exactly right. That last drive, there was a lot happening right there that I thought not only encapsulated this season, but a lot of those individual guys. First of all, Garrett Green's season, I know I've said it every show for the last 5 or 6 shows, and I'm going to keep saying it. That dude was incredible this year. For a guy that you didn't know what he would give you, and you had questions, you could have hoped, Neil Brown could have hoped, that friggin' guy balled this year, man. I mean, he was elite. Not just kind of good, elite. And before you text me, I know he wasn't perfect. So don't text me with all the stuff to win. I know you're going to get those. He was excellent.
Yes.
I mean, absolutely outstanding. That drove the bus on that team behind that offensive line. So first of all, you get Garrett Green, who's out there as if they're up 40 points and not even worried about anything. Give me the ball. Timeouts, don't care, don't need them. Right? Pull to Dana. Don't need timeouts. Let's just go. We'll just march down the field. Jaheim White with the big play. Offensive line, and let's stay there for a minute because it was alternately one of the saddest things you'll see and one of the most impressive things you'll see was Zach Frazier. I had somebody yesterday at the basketball game, Tony, say to me...
Oh, you were at the game?
I was at the game. Very similar to Deshaun Butler. An all-time great in one of their final moments on the field for you sustains an injury. So horrifically sad for Zach, who'd been so durable for his whole career, to have to go through that. The part that will remain, I think, forever and become part of Mountaineer lore is what that kid did. So how about he's picking Hudson Clement up and carrying him, first of all, assisting, nice assist, while something is seriously injured on him. So he gets the result, gets the first down, and then the presence of mind to get off the field without using any of the runoff. So that was part one, an unbelievably selfless play from one of the most selfless guys that's been in this program and one of the best. But a couple other things had to happen too. Brandon Yates had to be aware enough to not be like, what's going on? Somebody hurt? What's that? Right? He could have been totally confused. He didn't even hesitate. He just is immediately in and, okay, I got the ball, give me the ball. And then had perfect snaps in one of the most pressure-packed drives of the full season with your backup center who, I mean, how many times has he snapped this year? I can look that up, but it's not many. delivered right on the money. There was no confusion. There was no chaos on that sidelines. Frazier with an unbelievably smart, gutty, gritty play. Yates right there to pick it up and move you down, and you get the game-winning touchdown. I thought of all the things that have happened this season, that particular play from multiple guys on that field and that coaching staff having people ready when it wasn't a sudden change like a turnover, but that's a sudden change when the guy that's played 600 snaps for you is suddenly not on the field on the most important part of the offensive line. And you still walk down and get a game-winning touchdown?
Yeah.
Remarkable.
And how about the fact that Neil Brown said on the touchdown to Jaheim White said, we haven't run that play this year. They practiced it, hadn't run it in 11 games.
Well, it's a good thing Baylor hadn't seen it.
Yeah, Baylor just like
that D-back still hadn't seen it.
No,
I still haven't seen it. Wherever I am.
But to have that, you have to have that, and to have the presence of mind to say, use it now.
The old wheel route, man. That wheel route's always a killer. That wheel route is a killer.
It's hard to guard.
It used to victimize. We've been victimized on multiple occasions by the old wheel route.
Yeah, you've used it a couple times in your history that have been pretty effective.
Oh,
but
yeah.
That was one of the best. Dale Sparks had a great photo that he put out there. Did you see that picture? So Sparks had a picture where you can see the ball. It's not quite to Jaheim White, and it's a great shot of White. You can see his eyes he's looking at. In the background, though, and it's a little bit blurred, but it's some, I don't know if it's the Baylor students. I mean, this is a thanks for having us. Those poor Baylor people are sitting there. He hadn't caught the ball yet, and there's multiple people in that Cobra position. They put their hands over.
Put the hands over the head.
Like they immediately knew.
Yeah.
Immediately knew. Great call.
Yeah,
great execution.
Wes Hours had the wheel route in the Music City Bowl to start the scoring for the Mountaineers. That was a release. So
Rashid's wasn't a traditional wheel route because he was the quarterback. But remember, he caught one in a semi-wheel route motion around that far sideline there at Pitt that one time.
So at the risk of being a prisoner of the moment, I think the final drive for West Virginia, you could make a pretty strong case that in WVU history, that it will rank among one of the all-time significant drives. So why do I say that? Several reasons. If you don't convert and you lose that game, the entire dialogue on this Mountaineer program, 180s, and the optimism that you had shrinks. And your entire off season is going to be that narrative.
Mm-hmm.
That's one.
Mm-hmm.
Two, as you mentioned, Zach Frazier and what he did. I told Hoppy earlier today, he let me on that little coffee show that he does in the morning. What Zach Frazier did should be memorialized in some form of an award, whether it's down in the weight room or whatever, but Zach Frazier should have an award for toughness, determination, and playing to the absolute nth with intelligence and strength.
Yeah.
So he should have an award all time.
Yeah.
And then what Garrett Green did and has done now on 3 of the last 4 end of halves
counting
for West
first
Virginia,
half.
going to Cincinnati, and then the first and the second half against Baylor. That is storybook stuff. And when people want to criticize what's happened in the previous 4 years that West Virginia's been lacking, and we say so many times and it gets repetitive, well, we got to make plays. You got to make plays. You got to make plays. Well, guess what? They haven't had playmakers. And now you know what they have? They have playmakers. So now don't take this out of context. Don't take it out of context, please. Pat White was a playmaker.
Mm-hmm.
Garrett Green is a playmaker. He does things that are off of the play design, and he wins games and makes plays, okay? That's what you've been lacking. And that's the intangible that separates third down conversions, and eventually it separates who wins and who loses. You have to have magic and you have to have special back there. Mentally, physically, whatever. So that's another piece. And then you have the whole Jaheim White deal. So in the course of 2 weeks, like he comes from this guy that didn't get a snap against Penn State because he was not ready yet and had to do some things to adjusting to this level of off the field, on the field, all that kind of stuff. And then you just see this trend starting. And now when you put the ball in his hands for the first time in a long time, guess what? West Virginia has someone that can turn the corner.
Yes.
And then you know what he does when he turns the corner? He runs away from people.
Yes.
Which we haven't had. So, and then let's go to Hudson Clement.
Mm-hmm. Well, keep going. You got a couple more. Keep going.
What's he do? While he does, all Hudson Clement does, he just catches almost everything that comes near his hands and then goes upfield and makes plays. And then even before that, Preston Fox, who injured himself in his catch because he just gave every single thing he had to catch that ball.
Catch.
Right?
That was a great catch.
So,
but also real quick, when we talk about great quarterback play, you have to have that too. That's got to come with it. There's going to be throws that aren't right dead on the money, and you've got to make plays. These guys, you're starting to see them make plays. Multiple guys making great plays.
Absolutely. You know, and you talk about, well, is this program recruiting? Well, yeah, I think they're recruiting. Traylon Ray, he runs away from people. Hudson Clement, Jaheim White, Rodney Gallagher, all babies, like still in diapers. They're all going to, you know, retention week. You keep them. And you keep growing this thing. C.J. Donaldson was the other find, right? He was supposed to be a tight end. They made him into a running back. Seems to work. Scored a touchdown in every game except 2. So that, to me, that drive could have changed the entire tenor of the whole thing. Now, at least you put yourself in position to win a 9th game, which doesn't happen a whole lot. So that's my takeaway.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, it was just now there have been a lot of times over the last couple of years when the offense got the ball and you had a sense of dread that what are they going to do here? They're on their own 17. What are they going to do here? You just didn't see. And now when the offense gets the ball, not every time, obviously, when you have a sense of excitement, something might happen here.
Yeah, true.
They might do something. This is entertaining. You better watch because something might happen here. And I think that also adds to the fun of watching this team, which you haven't had.
And you have to have what happened this season on a couple of occasions in that game against Baylor to set yourself up for next year.
Yes.
So this year we came into the season going like, I wonder, I'm not sure, I wonder. Next year when you go out, you go like, here we go. We got this. We know how to do this. That confidence is invaluable that they didn't have. You have to build to that, enjoy the success, see what it takes, and then you can continue on.
Well, and the mark of that confidence internally, I thought, was the end of that first half, where Neal wasn't trying to finish the end of the half. He wasn't even saying maybe we can get a field goal. I mean, he's using every timeout he's got defensively to preserve minutes because he's saying, you know what our offense is going to do? Guess what we're going to do to you? We're going to go back down and score. I don't know if you knew you'd get a touchdown out of there, but that confidence internally exists, and I thought that it showed up at other points during the season, but that was a real indication as that clock just kept winding. He's like, no, give me the ball back. We're going down. Give it to my guys. They're going down.
And then,
that's a hell of a change from where this offensive system was 4 years ago when you had no offensive linemen and you had to get Zach in there as a true freshman. Think of the remarkable turnaround of that. You want to talk about something that's turned around? That offensive unit putting those pieces in place.
Yeah. Well, number 1 in the country in running the ball.
Yeah. Power 5.
Power 5.
3rd overall.
Yeah. So that works. Got
to work on the kickoff coverage a little bit.
Well, that wasn't ideal.
We can go to the extreme on that.
That was John Antoniuk. Did you see? Well, you probably had the stat, right?
I saw it.
Yeah.
Hurry Up Yost was the last one that did it.
I thought the
130 to nothing, right?
Yeah.
130 nothing game.
Yeah.
That was Fielding.
1904.
1904.
That was Fielding Yost, right? It was Michigan.
I don't know but it was
Michigan,
Michigan,
right? Yeah, it was Michigan. West Virginia guy, Fielding Yost, West Virginia native, lines up, beat us 130 to nothing. 2 kickoff returns. I'm sure you can.
That doesn't happen, by the way.
No, I'm aware of that. I'm quite aware.
Like ever.
And so I want to know. Here's my stats. So some people out there, they try to emulate spreads on stats here. Dig into this one for me. What's the winning percentage of a team that allows 2 kick returns for touchdowns in the same game? I'd love to know what that is. I bet you it is infinitesimal. That's one thing. 2, West Virginia allowed 3 kick returns for touchdowns this year. That shouldn't happen in 5 years. And it cost you the Houston game.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about a whisker from costing you another game.
And you had Baylor. I think they would have cashed in.
Absolutely.
Had they not run back
100%.
And then 2, and then they're on the sideline. They're like high five, and they're like, "Hey, let's go. Why not?"
It was the perfect anatomy of an upset for them,
yes.
right? If you and it's cliche, but it's right. You take those teams that are cooked and bury them early. Listen, I've been on a lot of bad teams in my life.
Excuse me?
I've been on bad teams in my life, like bad. Like bad trying to play baseball in the snow and like you're bad and you just want the heck out of there. Been there. If you're in the game, like Baylor became in the game, you suddenly go, well, I'm out here, right? I'm out here playing. I'm a competitor. I want to win this game. The bad teams, when they lay down, is when you get beat early, right? When you're up early, then you just go, you know what, this sucks. I'm out. I don't want to play.
And it feels familiar.
And it was headed that way.
It feels familiar. Yes.
And it feels familiar. Like, here we go. Again.
Okay,
we can't win. We can't win. Gonna lose again.
But
so you were headed that way offensively because you were just running right through them, and it was those kickoffs just kept you right in it.
And the margin, we talked about this all year too, but the margin is so close. I don't care who you're playing. The margin is close. And if that Baylor defender had caught that ball, he was shocked, I tell you, that the ball was right in his hands. Guess what?
We're sitting here today, and we got black armbands on.
Yeah.
In mourning.
What do I always say about wins?
Never apologize. Always accept them, and there's no such thing as a bad win.
Thank you.
Ever.
We watch
hard to win games.
Think about those drives that West Virginia's put together. You're talking about the end of the half, end of the game, is that we watch a ton of football on Saturday. We got all kinds of games on. You know how many things go wrong when teams try to do that? I mean, all the time. I got it on the 20. What's going to happen? Very rarely. In the pros, you see it all the time. College, very rarely do you see a team able to go down the field with no timeouts and successfully execute that. Something goes wrong, Brad.
And isn't that one of those crazy stats, and especially in football, because it literally takes that whole team, as Tony, you just outlined there, with all the different guys making plays on the last drive. But people always want to assign those fourth quarter comeback drives to quarterbacks and assume that's your worth as a quarterback if you've done that. How about Garrett Green? Save for a Hail Mary, he just tacked 2 of those on.
Mm-hmm.
Last minute drives down the field to get you a win.
Yep.
Would have had 2 without the Hail Mary.
Yep. Absolutely right. Yeah.
So you go into next year?
You got it.
Okay.
That's all you ever want.
You go.
Just give me guys that got it.
Yeah, so now as you said, and we'll cover this more in the shows that come, this is just a massive 2 weeks here. This is just an absolutely enormous 2 weeks.
We'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about Comax Business Systems.
Take Jaheim White's phone away from him.
Talk about Comax Business Systems.
Keep his phone, just walk in with 2 giant suitcases full of money. Just going to have somebody from the trust go to the bank account. I don't know where they bank. Just go over there, just empty the vault, just walk over and say, here.
You don't need to take away Jaheim White's phone, but if you're a business owner that needs a phone system, Comax Business Systems will come in and do a complete investigation into your current phone system and offer you a digital phone system that can do so much. The technology has changed immeasurably, and as a result of that, Comax can take care of you, whether it's 1 digital line to 1,000 lines. You can work it whatever way you'd like. You can purchase, you can lease, you can rent your hardware. They'll come in, give you a free price quote, and make your business phone system just right. It's ComaxWV.com. That's ComaxWV.com. 3 Guys also brought to us by the fine folks at Lou Wendell Marine Sales. They happen to be the largest pontoon boat dealer in the state of West Virginia, family-owned, 4 decades, recognized as the premier pontoon boat dealer here in our state of West Virginia. They feature the Avalon pontoon boats, and right now they've got a 3 Guys special. You are looking live at the 2023 Avalon 2385 Entertainer, top-of-the-line tri-tune model. Can be used for whatever you want to use it for. Water adventures galore. Comes with a Fusion, amp, 6 lighted speakers, big boy engine as well. Got a Honda 150 motor plus the trailer. It's called the Tri-Tune Entertainer Model 2023 model Avalon. So check it out. Tell me you're a 3 Guys listener, and the special price, $89,774, $89,774. If you're in the pontoon world, do it.
One other thing, Tony, Michael Hayes, who'd struggled a little bit the last couple of games compared to what he had done, knocks down 2 field goals. Their field goal kicker misses 2 out of 3, especially that last one by him.
Oh, thank you.
See, now again, so those.
Thank you.
And I told Hoppy again when I was on this coffee program there. So today we're sitting here talking about Garrett Green, we're talking about Hudson Clement, we're talking about Zach Frazier and all the good things. So at Baylor, you think they're talking about that missed interception? You think they're talking about that missed field goal?
Yep.
Right? Because I still remember the player on West Virginia who missed an interception in the 1989 West Virginia Pitt game that would have sealed the deal for us. Remember it like it was yesterday. I'm not going to say his name. But, yeah, you just remember those things. You just remember. They haunt you, just like that Hail Mary is going to haunt us.
Speaking of which.
What's that?
Well, Dana's looking for a job.
I know. Someone told me there in Texas this weekend that he was fine. He was going to get another year. Didn't happen. Well, you know what it does? Again, it just shows you the world of the dollars. So that contract, he gets $15 million.
Yes,
to
go away.
So he gets 15.
He just signed an extension.
I know. He gets $15 million, which is great for him, man. He negotiated that deal. It's great for him. But this is why colleges are having problems, and this is why the current system that we're in is going to change. Because you cannot pay Jimbo all those tens of millions of dollars. You can't pay guys like Dana $15 million and then go like, well, our athletic department's struggling. We can't work. We're struggling. We can't pay the kids because of this. That's why they're going to get attacked for these deals.
And should.
And, yeah. And so we need to spend time, maybe next episode, on the Ross Dellinger story from last week of what the new NCAA – did you read it?
No, I need to.
What the new NCAA will look like and the new rules for these, the power boys are going to move into their own world. There's going to be some massive, massive changes. We'll get revenue sharing with student athletes, but this world that we're in right now of this it's bizarre.
It is, but at some point too, even if you're going to break off, your problems are still going to exist if you don't fix some things. It's just going to shift who's affected by those things. Here's my example. Indiana, who all due respect to the Hoosiers, they're just stealing money. Their football program is stealing money from the Big Ten. I've said this many times. Why they get $100 million for the results they're returning is absolutely outrageous. They just paid their coach. He was owed $20 million to go away, and they were fine with that. Negotiated it down to $15 at Indiana to go away. And they've got enough money coming in from the TV contract, they can do that. There's some of these schools that there should be relegation. If we're going to do this and be kingmakers to certain programs, Vanderbilt lost again this weekend. We had to hear their score all day. Just getting absolutely wiped off the face of the earth by 4 touchdowns again. Had to hear them all day on the ticker. Some of these schools, man, what are you doing? What are you doing to earn the $100 million? So unless there's some balance that's going to come into play with that stuff, you're just going to take some of the group of 5 or the MAC schools now that are at the bottom trying to fight their way up in terms of overall budget and revenue. You're just going to eliminate those, and a new bottom is going to move in. And it's still going to be hard to compete at that level. So just because you change the governing body doesn't fix some of the inherent problems that exist in there. Just FYI.
Yeah. Well, it'll never be a fair, equal plane among the schools because it never has. And if you try to set it up to be a fair and equal plane among all the schools, that won't last because by human nature, people will cheat. That's cheating cheats. Everyone cheats in everything. They cheat in business. They cheat in everything. People cheat by nature, so it doesn't matter. You'll never have a fair, even field. That'll never happen.
Well, no, you won't. And it's not only just because you'll go outside the rules, but the conferences making the most money now are never going to kick any of that in to bring everybody up to their level. They want to stay above you. But if you're going to make it an NFL model and the TV executives continue to want this to be NFL light, that's what the NFL has, does it not? You can't get above one or other, and it does balance it out. So if you're going to try and make an NFL model but don't balance some of the revenues out in some way, then look out if you're one of the schools that's going to be sitting at the bottom of that new structure. Don't think everything's suddenly better just because it's not called the NCAA anymore, that it's another group. Don't get caught with that.
Hit it.
So I checked the numbers. We'll just go right to the numbers. Here comes a heater.
Let's jump into the analytics portion of the show. Time for Spreads on Stats. This is Brad's analytical review of WVU and the Baylor Bears. You got any basketball in there too?
Got a little basketball.
You got some basketball?
Well, talk a little basketball.
Awesome. Spreads on Stats brought to us by the Conley CPA Group. They're absolutely fantastic, based in Fairmont, but they've got clients all over the state of West Virginia. They'd love to serve you if you need some help when it comes to your stuff. talking about audits, assurance, tax planning, preparation, consulting, advisory, outsourcing your CFO services. Whatever you need, they can do it all. They've been doing it since 1985. And, we had lunch with them recently, and they made it a point to say, hey, guess what? Like, we're not only based in West Virginia, we're actually West Virginia. Like, we're here. Like, a lot of these CPA firms, they get bought up by other firms, like from outside of the state, and you kind of lose that whole West Virginia thing. They just become just a piece. So, yeah, they have offices here, there, and everywhere. But, like, West Virginia gets West Virginia, Conley CPA Group. Well, that was right on the cue. So what'd you have?
First, before we begin, brought to you by Conley CPA Group, but this segment dedicated to my guy, Greg Rollins from Morgantown.
Excuse me?
Met Greg yesterday at the basketball game.
Who's he?
Well, a gentleman here in town, listens to the show. Stop. No, that's not him. Not yet. Not yet. That's another one. So I met Greg. He stopped me yesterday. He said, hey, can I tell you something? I said, sure. He's been listening to the show for a long time. He said, when you started in with all those stats, it kind of hurt. And I could tell like he didn't want to. I said, kind of hurt your head? He goes, yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah, you've heard a lot of people
I know
say
I know it hurts your head sometimes. There's a lot of numbers. It gets confusing. I totally understand that. But he said he stayed with it and kept listening, and he found himself at a local establishment not too long ago, Hoppy, and they were discussing sports, and he was listening to two of his buddies talking, and he thought, you know what, you're not right. So he started throwing out some of the stats we've talked about,
Very
and
good.
They were surprised that he knew that much.
Yeah.
So he said he's learned a little bit from the segment.
Very good.
So thank you to Greg.
Well, it matters. The stats matter.
They do matter.
They
They
help
give you some good
explain.
insight into things.
Yeah.
Can they not?
Yes.
All right, you ready?
Sure.
Excuse me while I put my glasses on here. So let's, as we often do in the review episode, let's look back at a couple of things we discussed and see if they came to fruition. Hoppy,
Yes,
what's
sir.
the key to the defense? The defense struggled
They did.
at times.
Yes.
Right? They made Sawyer Robertson look like an All-American yesterday. Guy had struggled all year. Give him a lot of credit. He played extremely well running and throwing. But what's the key to the defense all year? When the defense does what?
Gets pressure on the quarterback?
Yes. When other teams, the opponent, is in passing downs 30% of the time or more, it ends in a win for West Virginia. They finished the regular season going 7-0 in those situations. Baylor was in a passing down 39% of the time. That number's 30. West Virginia moves to 7-0. So 7 of its 8 wins came like that. UCF was the only one that didn't. The aforementioned Sawyer Robertson,
Sure, quarterback.
how about his passing grade?
Oh.
It was like 200 plus.
91.9.
He was 200 at one point. It was
Man,
crazy.
He had a game. Yeah, that was his quarterback rating.
Yeah.
Passing grade 91.9, had 2 big-time throws, 0 turnover-worthy plays. We told you on Thursday's episode, watch him throwing deep and left. Remember that? Deep and left, 20 yards or more to the left side of the field. That's where he likes to go.
First big one was the tight end to the left.
2 for 2 in that spot. 1 touchdown, had a quarterback rating of 158.3 when he went that direction. That rating was by far better than any other part of the field that he threw to. So that was Sawyer Robertson in passing grade. Cole Taylor, we talked about him on Thursday, said Baylor had given up the most passing yards to a tight end in the Big 12 heading into the game. He led the team, Taylor did, with 6 targets, tied with the most receptions with 4. Put up 64 yards receiving. Would have thought there might be a few more that come with that, but he was the most targeted guy on the team. He was also a factor. We didn't mention Traylon Ray when we were talking about good young guys that were coming back that made plays. He had that touchdown catch in that game. But if you go back and watch, Taylor was underneath, brought a second defender in to look like it was going threw it right over the top. It
On the
opened up
touchdown?
that back end
Yeah.
for Traylon Ray to run right under that ball. So good work by Cole Taylor in that game. West Virginia had a big day running left, around the left end. That was led by Jaheim White's 53-yard run around that side. 9 carries, 119 yards when going around the left end. 1/3 of its rushing first downs came on that side, and 3 of the 7 10-yard runs or more came around the left edge.
You know how bad he got screwed on
White?
the Wyatt Milam holding penalty? It
Why?
was a horrible call.
Oh, yeah.
Horrible
There
call.
were a couple missed
that
when West
play,
Virginia was
that play should have stood. I asked Wyatt about that. I was walking down the seats there in the airplane. I said, you got screwed on that holding call. He goes, terrible. I said, yeah, I know. It was horrible. Garrett Green was sitting next to him. He goes, yeah, man, it was terrible.
How about the play where White goes left and there's 2 defenders there, and he jukes them and they're frozen frozen. And he goes down the sideline for like about 35 yards.
Yeah, he got it.
He does have
He
it.
does. He has it.
That's it.
Speaking of Garrett Green, we talked on Thursday about his rushing EPA, expected points added, measures the success of plays, and he was, 10 times better than the next best quarterback in the league? So Garrett goes for 103 on the ground. Ran for 7 of West Virginia's 12 rushing first downs. He just continues to make plays. When he was passing it and kept clean, he had 6 big-time throws in the game. That's an enormous number for one game. He also had a 91 grade in that game when he was kept clean, so he was fantastic. Couple season stats on Green, and we'll do more of this in the coming episodes, but I want to get these in today. He finishes the regular season, does Garrett Green, with the 18th best deep passing grade in the country.
Really?
18th best nationally. Now, if you've watched him coming into the season, which we had, we'd seen him throw it deep. He's got a cannon.
Oh, yeah.
But to translate that into results with his throws and the ability for receivers to get by defenders, I think that's just unbelievable that he finishes 18th in that category.
Brad, especially when coming into the season, one of the questions was accuracy, right?
Yes, but not on the deep ball.
Nope.
He got that. Garrett finishes the regular season 12th in the country in quarterback rushing yards.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good. You'll take that, won't you?
Yeah.
He finishes 4th in the country in rushing EPA, but 5th in rushing EPA per attempt. 5th in the country. So you talk about guys that are valuable and had high-end success. So 12th in total yards. Okay, fine. Now niche it down to guys that added points, expected points, each time you ran the ball. Dude was 5th in the country. Put that down. That's the best. That's 5th in the country, obviously the best in the Big 12. The next best guy in the Big 12, Avery Johnson from Kansas State, who split time with Will Howard, and he was 18th. That's how good of a year Garrett had running the ball. Couple comparison points. Now, same thing as your disclaimer. Don't send me all kinds of tweets. I'm not saying he's in Pat White's category. But how about these stats? With 1 game to go on the season, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Tony, pay attention here. This is a good one. With 1 game to go, Garrett has 2,886 yards of total offense and 28 touchdowns accounted for. Okay? With 1 game to go. Pat in 2007, which was a monster year,
Right.
3,059 yards and 28 total touchdowns.
Okay, do it again.
2886 and 28 touchdowns. Pat was 3059 and 28 touchdowns in 07.
Oh.
Garrett still has a game to go.
Pat's number's not going to go up.
Pretty amazing.
Garrett got
That
a
is
chance.
amazing.
Pretty amazing. Compare it to, I said a bunch this summer, this team to me had a 2016 type of feel to it if Garrett could take care of the football, which he did tremendously well. Compare him to Skylar Howard, guy that could run the football, although I think Green's been more dynamic running it, but Skylar was very successful running the ball as well and could throw it deep really well, right? That felt like this team that then was led by a veteran, really good offensive line. Some similarities. Skylar in 2016, because he threw for more yards than Pat or Garrett, but he ends up 3,791 yards and 36 touchdowns. So that's the kind of year you're talking about with Garrett.
Yeah, I'm just looking here. Our boy Jed Drenning says this offense is on pace to become just the 5th Mountaineer offense since 1950 to finish the year averaging over 200 yards rushing and passing. The 72 team, the 93 team that went undefeated, 15 team, and the 16 team. Right now, West Virginia's averaging 204 pass, 234 rush.
So how about the balance running the football? I went back. I tried to find some that were comparable to this team that had its top 3 rushers all with more than 700 yards, none more than 800 right now. 795 for CJ, 792 Jaheim White, 708 for Garrett Green. Think about that balance.
3-headed horse.
So you talk
The
about
three, we call them the 3 horsemen. You think anyone's ever done that, Hop?
That's
3 horsemen?
well,
Nope,
you don't need one person to run for 1,500 yards. How about 3 people that run for 2,100 yards?
So you talk about an offense is difficult to defend.
Yeah.
Right?
Who
What
do
are
you
they
defend?
doing?
Yeah.
What are they do? They're bringing 3. So I went back. 2007 was something similar. You had 3 players with more than 600 that season. You had, of course, 2 over 1,000 with Pat and Steve with monster years, but that's pretty good. You're going back in history there. It's tough to find where you had a running attack that did that in terms of balance. So pretty impressive there for the football team.
That's good stuff.
All right, that's
It
the
is.
gist of my football stuff.
That's really good.
Got some more put some more season numbers into context. next week when we recap some of our over-unders that we did earlier this year.
Now, did you say you went to the basketball game?
I did.
Do you have any numbers from that?
Yeah, I got a couple. One of the things we talked about last week, maybe on Sportsline, I don't know if we did it here, we thought Jesse Edwards, part of our scouting report on Sportsline, Jesse Edwards should eat. They didn't have a lot of size, right? One guy that was 6'10" didn't play the whole game.
Did you see that one time in the second half, he got a rebound and he didn't jump? It was to the right side of the basket, where it was like when the kids, like when the gym teacher goes out and they play with the third graders and they have the rims down, and then the gym teacher just reaches his hand up and just takes the ball off there. He had one of those rebounds, didn't jump, just took it.
Save your energy.
Yeah.
Well, Bellarmine's opponents were shooting in the 97th percentile at the rim. So given their size, you would expect teams could get to the basket on them. What did Jesse end with yesterday, Tony? Do you have that right in front of you?
I don't.
Oh, well, I'll tell you.
I may have it. Let me check.
You asked a rhetorical question.
What do you have, 17 points, 14 rebounds?
Yes.
Pretty good game. So I thought they would probably eat off of that. West Virginia's free throws carried the day yesterday, had the free throw advantage. Bellarmine had the advantage on threes and took more shots, but you got him on the free throw line. Offrey, you mentioned Offrey Neve was big.
Yes.
I'll try and give you a good number on him.
He was 10 and 6, 10.6
finished
rebounds.
with 10, and he was all over the place. Had some big plays. Had that big play at the end, Tony. 3-point play at the end.
4 for
really
4
good.
from the line.
Give you some overall stats here. The one thing there's a lot of, so Hoppy and I, when I pull these stats up, there's red and green that jumps out to you.
Okay,
Green being good, red being not so good. Most of the green came on West Virginia with its rebounding stats, was very good on the defensive glass. Defensive rating was very good. Free throw attempt rate, that continues to be something that West Virginia is going to need to do. Find ways, when you struggle offensively, what's a good way to overcome that? You got to find a way to get to the line and get some free throws. I thought that was one of the differences in the game last night. More free throws, more points in the free throw line, and you had a percentile in the 71st percentile of your free throw attempt rate.
I'll give you a stat. You win by 4. First half, double technical against the bench at Bellarmine. West Virginia makes 4 foul shots. Wins the game by 4.
They had 3-point shooting for West Virginia.
Yeah, West Virginia was 3 of 16.
We talked the other night about watch the corner 3 from Bellarmine. They took 8 of them. So that was a spot they liked, but they only went 3 of 8 from that corner. We also mentioned they took the same number of threes coming into this game from the left wing, dead on the middle, and from the right wing. How often do you see that? Talk about balance and ball movement, the same number of threes. They didn't shoot very well from 2 of those 3 zones, just 1 of 7 from the left wing from 3, 1 of 6 from the right wing from 3. They were good down the middle, 4 of 9, but they didn't hit from their other 2 zones.
Yeah.
That helped you.
I'll be interested to watch them the rest of the season, see what they do in their league. They're in the Atlantic Sun. This is their 4th and last year of transition from Division II to Division I. They're not eligible for the NCAA tournament. Even though their second year in the Atlantic Sun, they won the tournament.
And probably give teams fits is what they do.
Yeah, I'd just be really interested to see how they go, because they just got dudes that just play. Fun to watch. Mm-hmm. Really fun to watch. But not fun to play. Not fun to play. Just like when you get over that one, you just go like, gosh, I think we're over. Now, next up for the world champion Mountaineers, things get real. You're going to play 2 power teams, high-level D1s, St. John's and Pitt back-to-back. Friday night, Rick Pitino coming into the Coliseum. And then next Wednesday, a much, much improved Pitt team. And you're still without Kerr Carissa for another 3 games. So West Virginia has got to figure out a way. You got to make shots, man. 3 of 16 from 3.
Yeah, that's going to be tough, and we'll do more of a deep dive on St. John's coming up on Thursday's episode. But real quick, their pace, they're not super fast, kind of middle of the country, but they get a lot of points off their fast break, so they're going to pick their spots to run on you. They have a really talented big in the middle that's going to be a challenge and give Jesse Edwards a heck of a game there. So you got some work to do coming up on Friday.
3 Guys Before the Game is brought to us by the fine folks at GoMart. We are always telling you to get that rewards card. Well, why, you ask? Well, from now until the end of December, you can get triple points at all GoMarts on Tuesdays. That's right. You heard it right. On Tuesdays, you get triple rewards points. So this holiday season, you can shop, snack, and savor with Triple Point Tuesdays. They're sure to warm your heart and fill your wallet. Go to gomart.com to get that rewards card.
Tony, I thought, and Brad, I thought it was interesting that on the Raekwon Battle story, that typically at the college level, when there's a ruling by the NCAA, then the school or whatever expresses their disappointment, and that's kind of it, right? But for Raekwon Battle, with the help of his attorney Rocky G. Nola, to come out with a very detailed, personal statement that went a page and a half about his personal situation, about his struggles with his mental health, about how much that it helps him to be part of an organization, and that's almost unheard of. I think that was a remarkable statement by him. And look, you got to be, first of all, you have to be. That's a brave thing to do, to talk about that openly with your personal struggles. Okay, and then to make that argument as to why you should be allowed to play. I just thought it was a remarkable statement on his part.
Yeah, and they're going to continue to push on that side. University's out of it, as you just mentioned, but they're going to continue to push that and see if they can get that case re-looked at, and or maybe have to pursue it in other ways down the line as well. I thought one of the things, guys, that came out of that, and we've talked a lot about this situation and the timing in which the NCAA took back that just what seemed to be open enrollment, for lack of a better term, and started to put some restrictions on there. The other thing, I don't know the answer to this. I'd like to hear this from somebody with the NCAA that could speak to this. I'm surprised at this point they don't allow in-person oral arguments, for lack of a better term for this. It just seems to me some of these situations are really serious, Raekwon's being one, and to try and take that and read it off a piece of paper is a whole lot different than if that young man's sitting in front of you, a 2-person committee, 3-person committee, 10, whatever the committee is. We don't know that either. Let him make his case. Yeah. Let a Josh Eilert, and again, I'm recency bias here and speaking directly about this case, but it's so unique given Battle's background, given what Josh Eilert knows of that background for he himself living on a reservation, to not allow those things to be done in person and see the kid and listen to the kid and listen to a head coach that has personal experience, I think that's a massive disservice. That's a massive disservice. Is it not? What am I missing there?
You're not missing anything.
There's got to be a vehicle, even if it can't be on the original submission. If you're into an appeal, or at this point a third, where you feel you've got a really strong case, and if mental health is one of the things that is the check mark that gets you eligible, that's hard to look at this and think that doesn't apply here. But to not at some point in this process take that on personally and individually and in the same room, tell us your story here. How do you not allow that?
So technically, you can just do it by Zoom, because I guess these people that hear these things are all different places.
Okay, fine.
Just do a Zoom call. You get 10 minutes. Go ahead. Why should you be eligible? Go. Let them have it. It'll be fair. It'd be more fair.
I would say more than 10. Look, let him make his pitch with his coach, and then let people ask questions. Let those whoever's making the decisions ask questions. Say, what about this? What about this? What about this? And see if there isn't some sort of compelling reason. Now, again, like you said, we have regional bias because it's a WVU thing. But I come back to the macro with everybody playing everywhere all the time and getting paid. I mean, this stands out. This stands out for not being able to play.
No doubt. As we've said many times, the selective enforcement of certain things has got to be maddening to people all over the country, and certainly for this guy that's being kept from playing, and there's others that are just all over the place that have moved and done whatever and still played. And coaches that have done whatever and broken every rule and still allowed to coach and still allowed to make millions. It's just the selective enforcement would make me nuts. The show's over.
I thought it was lunchtime. I missed it.
No, it's not ending. It's just entering a new chapter. This is Textual Healing, brought to us by our website, episode800.com. 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 Or right now. Well, you know, it is Cyber Monday as we record. And you know what? We don't have any special deals on Cyber Monday. You know what we do have? We got great stuff at the right price. We don't need to lower our stuff
all the time. We just do it all
the time. It's fair to you. That's what we're trying to do. So here's if you go to the site, you're going to see all of our apparel. The Efforting T-shirt is the #1 seller right now. The Hope Collection T-shirt. Remember I told you about the folks here in Marion County that are raising the farm products, fruits and vegetables for families of cancer patients. And then they donate that food. And the folks that work on the farm have disabilities. And so it's a win-win all the way around. So we've got the Hope series there, and then we'll make a donation of all of that to that organization. So we got some neat stuff there. You've got the Efforting stuff, all the other 3 guys, apparel and merchandise. And again, popcorn is rolling. They're making more. Your order needs to be in. They got all kinds of big. We got the mini bags here. Those are just for like a handful, but they all got a regular size. I mean, you get a tub of it, like a big can. You know those big popcorn cans you see during Christmas? You can get that too. You get the whole thing. And again, orders must be in by 10 December. Also, Mountaineer Roasting. There might be a few bags of the Mountaineer Munch over there too. Might be a few bags of Mountaineer Munch. Rusty might have those over at the location in Morgantown, but there's the coffee as well. Our game day grind has gone extremely well and has been getting thumbs up from coffee snobs all over the place. If you can get a coffee snob to give you a thumb up, that's a good deal. Once again, get your orders in before December the 10th so that you can have it for the holiday season. Just go to the website and check it all out. Y'all ready for some text?
Sure.
John in Ohio. Coach Brown said after the Houston game that he would bring more pressure on a Hail Mary. He brought Marcus Floyd off the edge, paid off. Tough second half, but these Mountaineers are fighters. Give Garrett the credit he deserves. I may be biased, but I enjoy watching him more than any other QB in college football. Can't wait for the bowl game. Texter, this is at 10:12 p.m. on Saturday night, 10:12 p.m., 55 years old. I've never seen anything like this, disheartening. The only lingering question with this team is which SEC or Big Ten team will Jaheim White play for next season? 17 minutes later, 10:29 p.m., he writes in, this is Lewis in Lewisburg. Ignore me. I'm a dumbass.
So he gave you an in-game text when it looked like a loss.
And had the
wherewithal to come back and say, my bag.
Yeah, he had the guts to come
Well
in.
done on his part.
So Lewis,
good job, Lewis.
Thank you.
That's not his real name, probably.
Very self-aware.
Self-actualize.
Yeah, self-actualized, yeah.
There were several in-game texts that I just spared you. They didn't make the list. Okay.
Yeah.
See you. 3 guys. Going forward, WVU football needs to have an award that involves grit and fortitude named after Zach Frazier. Pushes Hudson Clement, significant injury. He is West Virginian, so proud of him, what he stands for.
Tony, what I would suggest is that you use Frazier as a verb.
He Fraziered. Like Pittsnoggled.
So if somebody, it's not just a great play, but a great play with something else attached to it. And you can do that in your broadcast. Just say he Fraziered. Fraziered him.
He says, we don't beat Baylor or without our West Virginia guys. Preston Fox makes a spectacular catch, hits the ground hard, hangs on. Hudson Clement clutch catches and fights for first downs. Appreciate you guys. DB in Lexington, North Carolina. Next texter, an ugly win is still by definition a win. Anyone unhappy about that has to be a closet Pitt fan. Signed by Bobby O from Defiance, Ohio, by way of Weirton. Texter, post-game text from formerly known as Spread's landscaper in the portal, now known as Morgan from Morgantown's husband. It's funny how many fans crawl out of the woodwork when things look bad to voice displeasure. I'm proud to be ride or die for this program. I'm happy for our players. I'll always believe in this program because that locker room is filled with determined men that believe in each other. 14th.
Think I can get some money from the trust to pay him and get him back as a landscaper?
Your trust. You have a trust. You get him back.
No, I think he's done.
You got any money?
I did not enjoy having to mow my lawn this summer.
Texter. You did not enjoy that?
No, it's just not my thing.
Soft.
I get it.
Texter, Bo from Somersville.
I appreciate my guys getting my lawnmower going, so I was able to do that. John and Jason.
Now if you just get somebody else to do it.
Boy, they had to do a lot of work to figure.
That was extensive.
Do you mow your grass, Tony?
I do.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't used to.
The wife wanted to.
Do you trim us? Do you do everything?
I do the edger and I trim. Do both. I got 2 equipment. Dunlap actually gave me my edger.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Dunlap said, here, the guy ain't using this, take it. I said, all right, fine, I'll take it. So
Dunlap doesn't edge his yard?
No, he does a really nice job on his yard. He's meticulous.
Got a lot of time on his hands.
He puts some guys wear those sun hats, with the brims around them. His is like the expanded model. It's like he's got 2 yards each side. Like he got no sun coming in. Like he's a walking carport.
He comes in every week And he's always, I mean, he's a great outdoorsman. He'll come in one week and he'll have a picture of like all these fish he caught, giant fish. And this week he came in, he had a whole thing of birds, like a massacre.
Oh, he went bird hunting?
He did.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, I didn't know he went bird hunting. Where'd he go?
Somewhere in PA.
Somewhere up in PA.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
He and McMichael are big.
Oh, yeah, big guys, yeah. Bo from Somersville, 3 guys, just hoping you would give a special shout-out to OG listener Z from Delaware. Zach and wife Lindsay, who were both college friends of mine and WVU alum who met in Morgantown, just welcomed their first little mountaineer into the world. Healthy baby boy Collins arrived at 8:50 a.m. Monday morning. Congratulations. So congratulations to that. Yeah, today.
Today.
So very nice. Collins, welcome to the world of the Mountaineers. Texter, hey, I'm the dude that messaged about letting my wife give birth at the stadium last week. Well, we didn't go to the game, but my wife did give birth to a healthy baby boy Sunday. Mom and baby doing great. Yeah. He is my first, and have to say, from the moment I saw him, my perspective on life has completely changed. Anyway, Bo's first game as a West Virginia fan was this Baylor game. Welcome to the WVU fandom, my son. Can't wait to be stressed on a couch with you at the games for many years to come. Bo says hi. He chose the wiser option of sleeping through this game. There he is.
Awesome.
Got that binky ready to go.
Yeah.
Congratulations to you guys. Grant in Danville, Pennsylvania. Hello, on Saturday I took my girls to get our family Christmas tree at a choose and cut tree farm in, how do you say that, Hoppy?
I don't know that.
Ellisburg, Pennsylvania, called Ponduse Farms, town of about 2,200 people, central PA. One of the workers had a gold and blue West Virginia toboggan.
Of course he did.
His uncle played football at West Virginia in the 80s. Can't wait to hear my always West Virginia connection sweatshirt from the Christmas catalog, hoping for the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
Wonder who that was.
In Danville. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Needed a name on that.
Texter, Harvey, Anthony, and Bradley. Big Z from Morgantown here for real. No AI this time. Hello. Some end of regular season thoughts. Number 1, the win wasn't pretty, but these men had the will to win. They didn't pucker, and what a difference from 2019. 2, come on, wealthy Mountaineer alum. Donate to the trust so we can keep our players. Cough, cough, Jaheim, Traylon, Sean Martin, Milam, Green. 3, Garrett Green had 28 total touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. Biggest worry coming into the season was him taking care of the ball, and he delivered. So proud of his maturity. The wild stallion has become a Clydesdale.
That's a pretty good line.
Yeah.
He did. It was an incredible year.
Biggest surprise player this year, Hudson Clement and Ben Cutter. Great job, young men. Texter, Nick from Madison. I've been waiting on this story since the Pitt game to see how we finish. This one's for you, Spreads. So to begin our day, we make our way to Point Pleasant for the Mothman Festival to run the 5K. More walking than running. So this is the Pitt game. We spent a few hours enjoying the festivities after we enjoyed the race, never realizing this is such a big festival, but I'm there to support my wife and her adventures. We make our way to Morgantown, best game I've ever seen in person. So what I'm really getting at is I do believe that the Mothman is not a negative, as I will bring some amazing energy with me for good luck and pass along to the team as they finish out a great run this year. Here's to more success in whatever bowl we end up in. Let's go get the 9th win. P.S. Hashtag number 14.
Right. Well, he got good mojo off that because he honored the Mothman. He didn't taunt the Mothman like Tony does. He was honoring the Mothman.
Honor, not mock.
Honor, don't mock.
Pay respects.
Pay respect.
Texter, born and raised in Ravenswood. Shout out to Mick Price and the running Red Devils back home. Now living in Fort Worth, this conversation in the stands went from releasing someone from employment to thanks for having us. And on the final drive to end the season. Funny how that works. Let's go Mountaineers. There it is. There's McLean at night.
They really did. Thanks for having us.
Is that a nice stadium?
Gorgeous.
Is it? They got money, right?
They got money, and they had great foresight in building that thing.
Flat land, too.
Flat land?
You know what they did? They put their elevators. They put their you know how they always put the elevator in the middle of the stadium and you go up to the press box?
Yeah.
They go ends.
Yeah.
Saves all the
Two
space.
of them, it
saves all the space in the middle.
That's smart.
Their press box, their radio booth.
Yeah. Biggest
radio booth ever.
Really?
15 feet across, 40 feet deep.
No.
40? 40 feet deep. I measured it. I had to go, I got to measure this.
Measure it.
What'd you have? Should have stayed
tape
there.
Measure?
You could put a bed in there. You could put 5 beds in there.
And are you on the
50?
You're on the 50?
Yeah.
That's nice.
That's great.
Too bad nobody was there.
I didn't mind.
Texter. Crowd.
How do you handle the thanks for having us after a game like this? You certainly can't exclaim it loudly on the way out. Do you just kind of mumble it, or you just shuffle out of the stadium? Craig in Craigsville.
That's what I said. I think you roll your eyes and do a whew.
No, I just say it. It's even better.
You think?
Yeah. because they thought they had a win. Those are really good situations. When the other team thinks they have a win, I don't care if you played bad. I don't care if you yucked it up for most of the game. You're walking out with the win.
So you just
They're
say,
all
thanks for
dejected.
having us.
Yeah, I don't know if you might not go logo, but you just leave the stand. Just say, thanks for
Might
having
not
us.
go logo.
So you say, thanks for having us, but sans logo, no logo.
I don't know.
I'll say this: what they do.
I mean, you talk about kick in the stomach. Those are hard ones to lose.
Oh, you think?
We
yeah,
know.
I don't think you're not ashamed by it. It's hard to win games. Would Baylor have liked to win the game? Yeah, they didn't.
It's still amazing what they do with their students. Just
Yeah,
from
they all run on the
just from a
field.
safety standpoint, they have all those kids in that tunnel. I mean, it's just they let them out.
Yeah.
And they just scream onto the field. It's neat, but it's like someone's going to fall. Anyway,
Well, where's that rank on the scale of liability? Colorado lets a live buffalo loose.
Texter, I
What
have
if
to
you combine those two things?
Would not be good.
No. Have to give credit where it's due. How often has Garrett Green led a 2-minute drill to ensure points at the end of the half for a game? Because at this point, Green on a 2-minute drill feels more secure than a computer colonoscopy from Konica Minolta and Comax Business Systems. Most clutch WVU player since Deshaun Butler.
High praise.
That is big boy praise. Texter. 3 guys getting this in queue early because I really have something to say to so many on social media whining about our 8-4 record. Many are saying it's not impressive because we didn't beat anyone with a winning record. Some are also saying being happy with 8-4 is settling for mediocrity. My response, stop it. For one, you can't control your opponents. You just go win games. And second, 8-4 shows legitimate progress for a team picked last in the league. We tied for 4th or a Hail Mary away from 3rd, so please just stop because this team deserves to be commended and you're taking away from their efforts. Texter, guys, I can't just believe the number of keyboard warriors who act like this team has been a failure this year. Poorly coached, ? They showed how poorly coached they are when Zach was injured. Boy was smart and well coached, knowing he needed to hobble off the field to avoid the runoff, although in hindsight, 10-second runoff would have been better, so Baylor didn't have as much time. Poor coaching? Was it poor coaching that the line had to settle in with a center who couldn't take a snap in practice because of no timeouts and didn't get a delay of game? Poor coaching when the next play resulted in a go-ahead touchdown? All the people out there who can enjoy a win and be thrilled for 8-4 when the team is expected to be dead last in the conference and lose to teams they beat aren't fans. They're sad, pessimistic naysayers who aren't happy when it rains but don't like it sunshine either. As for me, I've loved the Mountaineers for 56 years, and I cheer loud and proud and will never forget 14. Let's get number 9, signed by Fran in Flatwoods.
Good points.
That may be the real name. Texter, it's a great morning to be a Mountaineer. Good morning, Tony Brett Hoppy. Almost went McDonough there.
He did, and you gave it a little
Yeah,
cricky,
you did.
too.
It's a great morning to be a Mountaineer. Good morning, Tony, Brett, and Hoppy. First, I'd like to say thank you for each of your time and effort to make this another great regular season. I listen to every episode and selfishly hope you guys stick together a little while longer. Yeah, can't get you everything.
No guarantee.
I was able to make it out for the last home game against Cincinnati, and I have to say it was hands down the least stressful I've ever attended. It was 4 of us, my wife, my wife's best friend, and my mother-in-law, especially because it was my mother-in-law's first ever football game. She had a blast. This game last night, though, a nail-biter. I'm still convinced the only reason we won is because I muted the television for the last series. You're welcome. Now on to bowling season. P.S. How is it that I've been a lifelong Mountaineer fan and I'm now just learning that Hoppy and his brother grew up with my wife's family of the Hoopers here in Charlestown?
That's correct.
If I were to walk down my driveway and face a little toward the park, I could hit his old house with a rock. Don't worry, Hoppy. Anyways, it was so cool listening to old stories about what Hoppy was like as a young man. Total derelict. No, I just added that. Thank you, fellas. Can't say how much I enjoy the show and hope to meet you one of these days. Signed by Seth from Charlestown. He's a Mountaineer and Shepherd alum. You know the...
Hoopers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to school with Pam and I were in the same grade. Pam Hooper. Lived right down...
She play basketball?
No. Literally throw a rock from my house to the Hoopers.
She could have been a hooper.
Could have been. Was not.
Texter. Hello. Just when they had us believing they wouldn't suffer another crazy loss, this team had us convinced that we were wrong and then proved us wrong again. If nothing else, this Mountaineer team is unpredictable. From 14 to number 4, quite the journey. Don't stop believing. Let's go. Greg from Lexington, South Carolina. Texter. Thanks for having us, Baylor. Great uniform matchup, by the way. Both teams looked great on TV. Signed, not an old grad, but not a young lad. Texter. Andy in Parkersburg, longtime listener. This podcast has now become a reoccurring conversation in a group chat with my father and brother. With the brother in Alabama, who's also a longtime listener and texter, this gives us a chance to discuss one thing we all love, everything WVU sports, since we don't get to see each other as much as we like. Super happy for Coach Brown. Surely this takes him off a hot seat, hopefully more portal success and what feels like more support for Brown at this point. However, I would have to think there might be some changes coming up on the staff, especially on the defensive side. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I'm efforting to get Coach Brown on my coffee clutch, and we'll see. I think with 8 wins, though, I don't know. I'm not sure you do much anything, frankly. I mean, you got 8. I mean, clearly there were some defensive issues there, but you lost. You probably had a shortage of talent. You had injuries on the defensive side, so.
And they're going to need some work too, portal-wise, with the defensive guys. You're going to lose a bunch of guys that produce. Jared Bartlett, right? Both corners out. Marcus Floyd out, I believe, from eligibility. So you're going to have to – that's why I think it's imperative to keep that offensive group as much together as you can. Then you won't need a lot of spots filled offensively. You can really focus defensively here in the offseason.
Well, you start talking about that, about the trust, though. And, again – it's a great disadvantage. You have no idea how much money's in the trust, and you start to say, Jaheim White, we got to pay him. Garrett Green, this guy got to pay them guys. I mean,
why do you keep saying you don't know how much money they have in the trust? They know how much money they have in the trust.
Yeah, we don't.
Well, what do you need to know for?
I'm curious.
I mean, but what do you need to know for? They know how much money.
Okay. Well, because the trust and the amount of money available is incredibly significant as to whether you can keep the team together. That is a legitimate worry now. That's a concern, right? Whereas a couple of years ago, it wasn't. Oh, one guy's transferring, 2 guys are transferring. So you have this, as a Mountaineer fan or a fan of any school, you have anxiety because you don't know whether you're going to be able to keep these guys or get other guys because you have no idea what the financial structure is. And that's a new level of anxiety for fans that you previously did not have.
I understand what you're saying, but to me, it's kind of like you'll know if they had enough or didn't have enough based on who stays and who doesn't.
Yeah.
Whether you know it was X or Y really is immaterial to just keep the kids.
Well, I don't know. I mean, again, what if Jaheim White goes to Georgia? And I'm just making that up.
Okay.
And then you go, wow, so you have to compete with Georgia, you have to compete with them and financially to keep one of your best players?
Yeah, I told you the story coming out of the Don Nealon event. Georgia paid a kid $1.1 million out of high school as a running back. Some of the guys you're not going to be able to keep. You're going to lose guys. You're going to pick some guys up and you're going to lose guys. Inevitable. It's inevitable.
Yeah, I
you're
understand.
You're going to get bummed out, and then you're going to hope you get some guys coming in. That's the way of the world. There's no way you're going to go through this process and not be unhappy at some points and then be encouraged that you got some guys.
Well, I understand that. I'm just saying there's a difference between, and I'm not talking about money like Ohio State or Georgia, but there's a difference between whether you have $1.5 million or $10 million in the trust, okay, as to who you can keep and how many you can keep. You don't have anxiety about that?
Nope.
All right. Well, maybe I'm just a worrier.
Nope. Well, you are. You just realize that you're a worrier?
Well, thank you, Brad. You do.
Why don't you turn your microphone on if you want to be on? Why don't you turn your microphone on?
You always turn me off when I'm getting ready to say something. I get what you're saying.
Okay,
I will say
you.
this to his side, as long as Neil Brown and staff know, that's certainly more critical. And just go keep the guys. Now you get a bunch of guys leaving and you're not keeping anybody, then I think there's some questions that follow that.
Okay, all right.
Go keep the guys. You had a good season. You got a lot you need to keep this year.
In general terms, let me say this. In general terms, in talking with those guys, now there's going to be some players that leave that they don't care. Leave because they're not good enough.
Okay,
they're just going to go somewhere and drop down to a different level. No, those.
Okay, yeah.
But as far as like the number, I think that they're concerned about is less than 10. Of like, hey, we can't lose these guys, and it might be 6, 8. And we can't lose these guys. That's their worry point. It's not 25, if that makes any sense to you.
Yeah, it does.
They know who they want to keep. They know who they need to keep. And they know who, if they leave, totally good. Probably more than ever before. We had Drew Fabianich here, the general manager, right? That's all he's been doing since he got here is talent evaluation here, knows who they want to keep.
But given the success of this particular team and the success of the young guys on this team, that number would seem to be more on that higher end, and it's certainly more than it's been at any other time when you've had to come up with the funds to pay these guys.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair statement, one. Then number two, you're going to it's not just about retention, although that's first. Then you better have enough in there after you've paid your guys that have retained that are more than you've wanted to keep in the past. You better be able to go out and get the few that you need to fill in and sprinkle and stay at the level.
No question.
I mean, it's more your payroll this year is more important than it has been at any time since Neil Brown's got here.
1,000% agree. I'm not downplaying. I said maybe last week on here, this week, this dead period, this retention period, it's the most important time of the entire year. But whether I know if they've got 5 million, 8 million, 22 million, 37 million, I don't care. Just go get it done.
Well, I understand. I think my point is that if you would lose more than you would expect to lose, then you say, well, wow, was there not enough money in the trust? But I don't know. How much was there? How much short were you? I just think to me, maybe I'm just a news guy. To me, those are natural questions.
You're not going to know.
What's that?
You're not going to know.
Okay.
It's not a nonprofit. They don't have to show you the numbers.
Someday you'll know.
Yeah.
When the system changes, you'll know.
So, yeah.
You'll get your way here soon when this
Brad,
whole system
understand
changes.
What
I know exactly what you're saying. Absolutely. It's a point of public interest because the football team's of public interest.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I get it. I know what you're saying.
Texter.
I don't live in a dark room like Tony. I don't care.
Well, maybe I don't care.
Millions and who knows. Just tell me. I don't want any additional information. Kept in the dark.
We'll just have that money in those bags ready to go.
I think like Brad says, I think the people who need to know. Maybe you're not one of those people. I think people that need to spend the money and know, they know.
I'm not in the need to know category.
No, you're not in the need to know. Texter. Underrated Reese's product. Good overall volume, easy to consume with no chocolate shrapnel when excruciating from the paper. Wrapper, excellent peanut butter to chocolate ratio. So just a straight bar.
Haven't seen this.
Yeah.
He's right. Sometimes especially in those minis,
shrapnel.
and they're not my favorite. There's a lot that's left over in the wrapper when you peel. He's right about that. That doesn't happen in any other form.
No, I get you. Yeah, he called it
the 2-pack. The regular size ones come off very easily. The big ones with the shapes are just there. You don't have to unpeel anything. Those darn minis can be a challenge.
Well, Adam Z called it. I think perfect description. Chocolate shrapnel.
He's on it.
Texter. This is for Hoppy.
Uh-oh.
Correlation versus causation. Every single person who confuses correlation and causation ends up dying.
That would be correlation, not causation.
Texter. Just to put this season into perspective for all the people saying we should have a better record, I went through some numbers to give my best spreads impersonation. So now people are trying to imitate you.
Oh,
excellent. Love it.
This is going back to the 2003-04 season because that's all the data I could pull. So since 2003-04, so basically 20 years, right? 20 years-ish. West Virginia averages 7.9 wins per season over the last 21 years. Our average strength of schedule is a 34.5. This season, we had 8 wins, and our strength of schedule was 41st. So,
I think there's other strength of schedule that would tell you they're higher too. I know there's a bunch out. Real quick, let me do this because I've been a little bit surprised at this strength of schedule discussion, and you haven't beat anybody narrative that's come up. I've been around Mountaineer football a long, long time. I don't remember this being an internal point of deriding the team that you're a fan of. The only time I can remember this is back when you're competing for a national championship in the 05, 06, 07, and the national people would try and jump in and say, it's Big East, you haven't played anybody. Mountaineer fans would absolutely be ready to fight those people, wouldn't they?
Yes.
Screaming about, no, that's not true, we're still good at. And now it's being used by a segment of this fan base to challenge the accomplishments of the team. It's just a really bizarre thing that's developed. But let me put some numbers to it. I tried to put some numbers to it.
Oh, you did this?
As I often do. Excuse me.
Put your glasses on.
All right, let's go through this. I took out Texas as the team that finished first in the league because they couldn't beat anybody that was above them, right? Because they finished in first. The remaining teams in the league, well, let me do it this way. The top 8 teams in the league, top 7, without Texas, 63 total conference games. I found 5 games where a team beat one ahead of it out of those 63. That's 7.9% of the time. A team beat another team ahead of it in the standings when taking the top 8 teams. Top 7, take Texas out. The bottom 6 teams, of which there's one bowl-eligible team in the Big 12. Now, they have more opportunities for those games, Hop, right? Because there's more teams above them in the standings. So I came up with 48 total games there. 6 wins over teams ahead of it in the standings. 6 out of 48. 12.5% of the games. So, again, if I've done my math right, 111 total games without Texas, and there were 11 wins by teams, 11 games that they beat a team ahead of it in the standings for a grand total of 9.9%. So in the Big 12 this season, basically 10% of the teams got a win over somebody ranked above it in the standings.
Yeah,
which isn't a lot, is what I'm saying.
West Virginia lost to Oklahoma. Oklahoma finished above West Virginia. West Virginia lost to Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State finished above West Virginia.
Stop. Those are your only 2 opportunities.
Right.
So you only had 2 chances based on where the final standings came to beat a team ahead of you in the standings. You did not do it. You were ahead of Oklahoma State in the fourth quarter. Didn't get done. But there were only 11 such instances in the league this year in conference play. So it just didn't happen a whole lot. But I've been a little bit surprised how much discussion there is about strength of schedule when generally it's only when external sources get on you about it.
I think,
very odd.
I tell you why I think that is one, because there were teams that had losing records that you played, but second of all is that there is a movement, I'm not sure of the size of it, but a movement that wanted Neil Brown fired. Okay, so if you're looking to have Neil Brown fired, you're looking for reasons to bolster your argument.
Correct.
To fire Neil Brown, and that's one that.
Yeah, but man, this would seem an odd way to do it when the whole thing was win games, win games, win games. You went out and you won games, right? So you moved the ball down the field. Now you go to the next stage where, okay, now go pick somebody off. Go beat a ranked team. Go have a signature. Okay, but you had to move you were picked last, so you don't automatically jump up and beat all of these teams that supposedly are on your schedule. Just move the sticks forward, which you did this season.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. Didn't happen very much within league play.
It'll be interesting to see what happens on Wednesday. They're going to release the Big 12 Coach of the Year. It's voted on by the coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So West Virginia had the biggest difference of where they were picked to finish from where they finished.
Yeah.
10 spots up. So my thinking is I don't think they give it to Texas because, 1, Texas is leaving, and 2, all the other coaches go, it's Texas. They get all the players. They're supposed to win it. They won it. So what? Maybe Oklahoma State, maybe Gundy. I don't know. But I wouldn't be stunned if Neil Brown is they don't ever say like who's second and who's third. They just say who wins, right?
I think that's right.
So
maybe.
We'll see what happens Wednesday.
We talked about this on our broadcast. We spent some time on this, and I'm of the belief in these things. I side more with exceeding your expectations should get you these awards. I would not be a vote for Steve Sarkisian. They had a great year, but they were predicted to have a great year. So to me, you just did what you were supposed to do. I have a feeling Gundy does win it from the standpoint of where they were in September to playing for a Big 12 championship. But you could probably argue the reason they were what they were in September is because they wouldn't give it to Ollie Gordon, which was coaching. I think it should be Neil Brown. I really do. You're picked to finish 14th. You finish in a tie for 4th. I think that's your case.
It'll be interesting because here I just putting myself into the mindset of coaches. I just think coaches look at it and go like, best coaching job. If they look at it that way, like who did the best coaching job? So I wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, that would be appropriate, and I like Brad's argument. Oftentimes, I mean, if Texas and Oklahoma weren't leaving, you would probably just give it to Sarkisian, right?
Some people vote that way. Some people vote on team that won the league. That's the best coaching job. I'm voting for that. I am one that would not. I don't fall in that camp. I'm an exceed expectations guy, but some would. I think Neil Brown. I think you should get it.
I think you can certainly make that argument. I would certainly be in the category of don't you dare give it to a coach who's leaving the league.
Yeah.
You want to win coach of the year? Go win it in the SEC. Good luck. Hope it goes well for you.
I'll tell you what, Brett Yormark, did you see the troll they gave him at that Texas game? Whoa, you talk about kicking them right in the old golden pears.
What? I said that so for if it was going to be, of course, now it's going to be Oklahoma State and Texas, but if it was going to be Oklahoma and Texas, I would have said Yormark should go there, drop off the trophy 2 days before the game, give it to a maintenance guy there, say, listen, whoever wins, gives it to him. I'm not going to be here. Just
run this out there. Hey, by the way, special shout out. I mean, holding in my hand,
delicious pear.
A golden pear. A few episodes ago, I said how much I like those Harry and David pears. Remember that?
Yeah.
I said like I could crush them. Well, our boy Charlie in Midlothian, he writes a note to us. Tony, Brad, and Hoppy, thanks for passing along or playing along with the Fuel Point saga. Charlie from Midlothian, he sends us this beautiful box of Harry and David pears. I'll tell you something. All that money he saved, those bad boys are expensive to get these pears. Thank you very much, Charlie.
Are you saying that? But you told me something I didn't know because I've gotten those before. So the one that's wrapped in gold is not different than the other pears.
It's a pear. They just do that. It's kind of like that's their thing.
I always thought that was the special.
That's their little chef's kiss right there. The little golden pear.
Those are good pears.
Oh yeah.
Best.
Yeah.
You going to share those?
Yeah, they're for all of us.
Okay.
Texter. Guys, Brian from the home of the soon-to-be two-time defending state champion Yellow Jackets of Williamstown. They got a big football game this weekend against Greenbrier West.
They're pretty good.
You going up there?
I'll be there.
Super 6?
Yes.
Metro News doing the games?
Yes, radio and TV.
Both?
Sure.
Huh. Been doing that? Just something new? Or?
No, been doing it a while. Thanks for asking.
Did you see the Bridgeport Princeton game?
I was amazed. I talked to Travis Jones.
Oh, he's going to hang himself.
I said, "How did that happen? You guys don't throw it. Did you run for all your scores?" He goes, "No, they were putting 11 in the box, so we were throwing it."
I threw it a little.
Yeah.
Scored 40+ in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
scored
amazing.
on 9. For some reason, I keep focusing on Bridgeport. Princeton won a game, and Brad, Princeton's a great story because
it's a great story. First time going to Wheeling.
But for Bridgeport, they score on 9 consecutive possessions.
Unbelievable, man.
Lose the game.
That's hard to do. That was their Baylor West Virginia game, first game of the Big 12. Texter says, anyway, so home from two-time defending state champs, soon to be. Kudos to Chris Beck and the boys for traveling to Parsons and knocking off undefeated Tucker County. Next up, the Fighting Owen Schmitz for the title. Owen's coaching
Greenbrier
West. Yeah. I just saw the In the Gun podcast Twitter. The WV now has the #1 rushing attack among all Power Fives. What a joke the O-line has not been a finalist for the Joe Moore Award. If all the ups and downs, the line has been so consistent for the most part. Hats off to helping them get us to 8-4. Lastly, I'm shocked. No one has mentioned this, but how does Brad not have a second sponsor for Spreads on Stats in an eye doctor's office? Got to get him some nice specs for that segment. FYI, the glass removal line is now 6.5 per episode.
All good points.
Yeah. We still open for sponsorships?
Well, sure, I think.
Probably get another 1 or 2 in there.
I don't think.
All I know is this. If you become a sponsor of Three Guys, all we do is give your product the golden touch. Whatever we touch turns to gold. Sell out of that coffee. The popcorn people. By the way, that popcorn, that's grown in Shepherdstown as well.
Really?
Popcorn, and it's, what's that, GM? What is it? Pick up one of those bags. What's it say on there? I mean, it's like healthy. What is it? No, turn it on the other side. It says little sticker, non-GM, GM, what?
Non-GMO kernels.
It's non-GMO kernels. I mean,
grown in Shepherdstown.
Grown in Shepherdstown. Right near Hoppy. Hey, it could be Hoppy's dirt from his farm.
My brother's farm, maybe. Maybe Nick's farm.
I mean, we're happy to help these West Virginia businesses. You get some of that Mountaineer munch, get yourself a couple of them Kirchevales.
Oh, you're set.
Pull that lever on your lazy boy recliner, pick your feet up.
You know what? You're Frasering.
You have a big time. You're living large life. Spread, Scopes, and the Dean of Beers. Hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I know this is a critical week for the staff. They try to retain players. I want to issue a challenge to all Mountaineer fans. If you're able to do it, reach out to the Country Roads Trust. Make a $30 monthly pledge. The more that can be collected will go a long way to keeping this core group together next season. And one last thing, to the Big 12 preseason media poll voters, thanks for having us. Signed by our buddy P1 Jennings and Country Roads Trust
I wonder
supporters.
if the Trust would like to sponsor us. I'm not sure there's any program in the world that's mentioned the Country Roads Trust as much as we have last 2 weeks. That should be a good sponsor. That's a lot of free pub for them.
I'll say.
Reach out to them.
They don't have money to spare, though.
Or at least we don't know how much they have. It's making Hoppy very worried. I got to know how much you have.
I raise a valid concern. Never mind. You want to live it like a mushroom over there. Don't tell me. I don't want to know.
Texter, 3 guys, great show. No disrespect. Here comes disrespect.
Disrespect.
But I sometimes re-listen to your show at 2 or 3 in the morning to get back to sleep. Easy and enjoyable listening, like a lullaby.
He definitely gave us all due respect there.
Yeah.
Question: none of us lay people understand the parameters of NIL. I understand that it's separate from the university, but it does carry a component of we will pay provided you play for WVU. With this in mind, couldn't there be a buyout clause in NIL deals? Everyone has the power to break a deal, but not the legal right. Therefore, money damages ensue. Obviously, the player could demand that the acquiring portal destination's NIL pay the buyout, as we shouldn't want to sue players and it flows legally because the acquiring school would have tortuously interfered with a contract. But wouldn't give this some stability to rosters and also give the players the type of negotiating freedom they desire. Also, are NIL deals year to year? Can they be multi-year? Could you effort on this and report back? Great show. Thanks for good humor and great insights. Chuck in Bridgeport.
No, we're not allowed to ask it. We don't want any information about it.
All good questions there.
They're all good questions. I mean, a couple of things I can answer. Yes, they are year to year. Could they be multi-year? Conceivably, they could. Since we're in such an infancy of this, I do think that there will become stricter restrictions on these NIL deals. You got to remember, this whole NIL thing was intended to be a student athlete being able to use his or her name, image, or likeness to generate dollars.
That lasted about 12 minutes.
But the intent of it has totally gone awry, and it's now pay for play. So there needs to be a maturation, an evolution of what this is. But right now, it is just oftentimes bizarre. You know, we've had basketball players here that have left West Virginia having made hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably, that didn't bounce the ball into the hoop. Mm-hmm. Just pissed away money.
And I think those are some of the things that are coming. I mean, that's
why
not,
you
not
need
an
to
uncommon.
put,
that happens.
Yeah, that's why you need to put some form of parameters on this thing so that can happen. You know?
Real quick, final thing before you hit the music. We showed a picture a little bit early, but let's put it back up. Another
what do you have?
Gentleman and his son attending his first Mountaineer basketball game at the Coliseum yesterday. Talked to them for just a little bit. This is Jeremy and Reiser from Linville, Virginia. Reiser attending his first game at the Coliseum. We have a picture. There they are.
Who took the picture?
I did.
You were at the game?
Well, sure.
You made their picture?
They had their picture made.
Yeah.
At the Coliseum.
That was his first game?
I made it.
That was his first game.
How'd you get it developed that quickly?
That's awesome.
How'd you get it developed that quickly?
Took it down. Said, need a rush on this in the back room.
He went over 12 hours.
Went over to Photomat inside he went over to the parking lot over at Hills and pulled up to the Photomat and said, hey, could I get this quick? You bet, Sparky.
And then I had a bunch of other pictures, so when they gave it back to me in the envelope, I had to rifle through the pictures real quick. The negatives were in the back. They were falling out while I was trying to go through the pictures.
Look at the negative up there and holding it up in the light. That's the one I want.
So Jeremy and Reiser, hope you enjoyed the game. He saw Mountaineer win in his first Mountaineer basketball game.
Very nice.
Those are special moments, man.
Yeah.
Special moments.
All right. Always remember that.
Yeah, absolutely. He'll know Bellarmine better than anyone else. Someone will look at him years from now and, yeah, Bellarmine. You don't know Bellarmine? Yeah,
that was my first game was Bellarmine.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we be done. So good to be back on Mondays, by the way.
Felt a little weird.
Not for me.
I like the Sunday.
Yeah, did you? Yeah. You wouldn't have liked it if you got home at 4:15.
Great point. Solid point.
I woke up
and you had a game to do.
I woke up about 8:50 and went like, whew, man, am I glad I don't have to go in there and deal with Hoppy. That's what I said.
Unfair.
Jeez.
Three guys before the game brought to us by. Did we mention episode 800 at all?
No,
episode800.com.
Mention it because it's holiday season. So
it's
people might
holiday
wanna
season.
know.
If you want to do some gifting, I don't mean to rush you, but basically 2 weeks left before the 10th of December, and we need those orders in so that you can have it in hand before Christmas.
Orders from where? Where do you get them?
Episode800.com.
Thank you.
The new Three Guys logo, all that stuff is out there. See that? Hoppy's just look at old Hoppy. Got that pullover on from Peter Millar. It's a picture of health.
See, and this is kind of a fun secondary mark. You know, I like it because the Three Guys is pretty obvious what it says. So that's really good for branding, right? Make your logo something that people know what it is. But for a secondary mark, this is kind of one of those, if you know, you know.
And if you don't, it's still a neat little design.
Pretty cool,
it's
yeah.
Squiggly.
But it's, if you want to be in, like all our texters and listeners are, it's a nice little if you know, you know.
That's a great point, yeah.
Yeah, kind of like
inside, a little bit of an inside.
Yeah. Special secret.
Frazier.
Yeah. Special secret information. Just like Hoppy wants to know those numbers. Three Guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. By GoMart, go for good times. Go for GoMart. Get the GoMart Rewards card and save. By Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. Take advantage of that super special, the 2023 Avalon 2385 Entertainer. Three Guys special. Tell me you're a Three Guys listener. And by the Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond the numbers. We're back on Thursday. We'll preview West Virginia and St. John's.
How about that?
I might be efforting on something else for Thursday. I might be efforting on something else for Thursday's show.
And if that efforting falls short, then we'll do some over-under recaps from the summer.
Sure, we can do that.
If the efforting comes through,
we'll
nice. Push the over-unders till later because those will be a fun discussion.
Are you over-promising?
No, I'm not
no,
saying.
He actually, for the first time ever, he didn't overpromise. He is in fact efforting.
He's foreshadowing.
Yes, potentially
hinting.
If it works out.
Okay, good.
No, normally he would have said, "I've got something for you on Thursday that's already done." When in fact he does not have it already done. And per usual, he's also not the one that's going to be efforting. But that's neither here nor there.
Oh, okay.
Three Guys producer has been Luke Rousey for Hoppy and Brad. Three Guys Before the Game, episode 508. Thanks for having us. See ya.